The film begins a long time ago, in 32 BC, during a huge battle called the Kurukshetra War. Two powerful beings, Ashwatthama and Krishna, are fighting. Krishna is the human form of the god Vishnu. Ashwatthama, on the other hand, is in trouble for killing the last of the Pandavas family. At that time, Krishna defeats Ashwatthama in the battle. As a punishment, Krishna curses him to live forever. This curse is meant to make Ashwatthama feel the pain of human greed and moral downfall for all eternity. To make Ashwatthama even weaker, Krishna takes a powerful jewel from Ashwatthama's forehead. Krishna tells him that the jewel will only return when the world is near its end, and when Vishnu returns to save it. Ashwatthama has no choice but to accept his fate and continue living in the world. Thousands of years later, in the year 2898, the world is in crisis. Humans are running out of food, and much of the land is turned dry and barren. People are desperate and even fight over water, refusing to share. In the midst of this struggle, a man is worried about his sick daughter, needing water to help her. Suddenly, an old man named Rumi appears and gives out his water freely to others. People are shocked because, in such a hard time, it's rare to find someone kind enough to share. A little later, they all arrived at a city called Kasir. Kasir was a highly advanced city, ruled by a god named Supreme Yasin. Supreme Yasin was still weak and needed a special elixir to regain his strength, which could only be made from pregnant women. Sadly, not everyone could enjoy the beauty of this city, because only rich people were allowed inside. To enter Kasir, you needed 1 million units, the city's currency, which could be earned by catching fugitives or finding fertile women for experiments. When the people arrived at Kasir, they were checked one by one. If a girl was found to be fertile, bandits would capture her to earn money. During the inspection, a boy told the guards that there was still one more girl in the group. Luckily, a girl named Raya managed to escape before being caught, thanks to a man named Rumi who helped her. Rumi was a rebel who fought against the oppression and the destruction happening in the world. His mission was difficult because he believed in an old prophecy that said a god would be born from one of the women. At this time, pregnancies were rare and most didn't last long. That's why Rumi traveled all the way to Kasir to find a pregnant woman named Divya. He brought a special artifact to check if her baby was the one from the prophecy. But when he used it, the tool didn't light up, meaning the baby in Divya's womb wasn't the chosen one he had hoped for. In the middle of their conversation, Yasin soldiers suddenly attacked, causing the jewel Rumi was carrying to fall to the ground. Thankfully, Raya quickly grabbed the jewel, but Rumi and Divya were captured and brought to a commander named Manas. At their meeting, Manas ordered his soldiers to take Divya and extract her unborn baby to make an elixir. Rumi tried to stop him and begged Manas to let Divya go. However, Manas refused but said he would agree if Rumi revealed the location of Shambala, the hidden base of the rebels. Rumi hesitated, unsure of what to do, but Divya told him to refuse. She knew that even if Rumi revealed Shambala's location, Manas would still kill them. After Divya was killed, Rumi became furious and even more certain that the prophecy about the return of the god Vishnu to save the world was near. When the rebels from Shambala shouted in response to Rumi being shot, Manas ordered his soldiers to capture them and offered a reward of 5,000 units for every rebel caught. During the chase, one of the Shambala rebels found themselves cornered, only to run into a bounty hunter named Bhairava. Bhairava was collecting units to enter the complex. Instead of handing over the rebel, Bhairava decided to fight the Kasir soldiers. At that time, he easily defeated them, adding to his undefeated record. The scene shifts to a special area where pregnant women are being kept until it's time for their babies to be taken. Commander Manas ordered the other women, who aren't pregnant, to take care of them. This made a maid named some 80 feel jealous because the pregnant women were being treated so well. Meanwhile, some 80's beauty caught the attention of one of the soldiers, who couldn't stop staring at her in a creepy way. Luckily, another nurse named some 33 stepped in and stopped him. At the same time, the head of the lab, Yuri, told Manas that the formula created by Supreme Yasin for the pregnant women was too powerful for human bodies. No woman had been able to survive the process. Yuri said he needed more time to research, but Manas refused because Supreme Yasin couldn't wait. After that, Manas ordered the officers to take one of the women who had been pregnant for a while to start the extraction process. Sadly, the woman didn't survive after her embryo was taken, and her body was thrown into a huge fire. Even though many women had been harvested, the results were still very little. Dr. Yuri, curious about the purpose of this project, asked Manas to take him directly to Supreme Yasin to get answers. At first, Manas didn't want to agree, but after Yuri kept insisting, he finally gave in and took him to meet Supreme Yasin. When they arrived, Manas handed over the serum he had collected to Yasin. However, Yasin could sense that someone wanted to harm him. He quickly caught Yuri, who had been hiding a knife, and lifted him off the ground. Yuri tried to stab Yasin in the heart, but it didn't work because Yasin couldn't be killed. In response, Yasin cried, and his tears fell on Yuri, causing him to die instantly in a terrible way. After killing Yuri, Yasin ordered Manas to find a pregnant woman who could survive 150 days with a baby in her womb, believing that such a baby would be very special. Meanwhile, some 80, who had been feeling sad earlier, was hiding a secret that she was pregnant. She couldn't keep it a secret any longer because some 33, who had helped her before, noticed her condition. Some 33 asked how long some 80 had been pregnant, but some 80 didn't know. Her belly had suddenly grown without her being with anyone. Shocked, she shared that her father had sold her when she was young. Some 33 then suggested that some 80 tell Manas about her pregnancy, as it had already reached 120 days. She believed that this special pregnancy could mean some 80 would be treated like a queen. After some time, researchers near the city of Kasir discovered an ancient artifact. This artifact was believed to be special because it looked like a bow from the past and was thought to hold great power. Meanwhile, some 80 was heading back to her room when she suddenly found a soldier inside. Scared that she might be harmed, she fought back, and in the struggle, her hidden pregnancy was revealed. At the same time, Raya, still holding the gem, ran into Yasin's soldiers. Frightened, she fled and accidentally fell into an old burial site. While trying to hide from the robots chasing her, she was caught, but just as she was about to be captured, an old man appeared and helped her escape. Back in Kasir, some 80's pregnancy was reported to Commander Manas. He declared it a miracle, as she was the only woman to survive more than 120 days while pregnant, and her baby was growing unusually fast. Manas ordered the doctor to prepare for the extraction. Some 80 had no choice but to endure as a robot began the procedure, stabbing into her stomach. During the extraction process, a power outage caused all the machines to malfunction, and some 80, who was still undergoing the procedure, fell into the sewer. Thankfully, some 33, who had seemed unfriendly before, appeared and helped some 80 escape from the sewer. In a hallway, some 33 revealed that she was actually part of the Shambala rebels and had been hiding in the complex for 2 years. She then tried to guide some 80 to the exit, but they were caught, and some 33 sacrificed herself to save some 80. Some 80's escape from the complex wasn't easy. At the end of a corridor, she had to pass through flames. Miraculously, she walked through the fire unharmed, as if a god was protecting her. Meanwhile, Yasin's soldiers, who were close to catching her, were burned alive. When she made it out, the Shambala rebels, who had been waiting for 2 years, were shocked by her survival. At the same time, the jewel Raya had been carrying suddenly started glowing, which caught the attention of the old man who had helped her earlier. He realized the moment they had been waiting for was near. The old man picked up the jewel and placed it on his forehead. It was then revealed that the old man was Ashwatthama, the man cursed by Krishna at the start of the story. With the jewel returned to him, it was a sign that the birth of Kalki was approaching. Meanwhile, something strange happened to Bhairava. He was upset after being thrown out of the complex and suddenly saw lightning strike nearby. The lightning caused everything in front of him to collapse. With just one hand, Bhairava held up a large object, which amazed everyone around him. The object had carvings of a god on it, and people started to believe that this was a sign that a god would soon return. At the same time, Bonnie, an advisor, noticed something odd with the bow and arrow that had been discovered earlier. When he tried to touch it, the bow threw him back with a great force. He reported this to Manas, who was frustrated by his troops' failure to catch some 80. Bani was convinced that a new, supernatural power had appeared on Earth, as proven by the destruction of a steel hand when it tried to grab the arrow. In the meantime, some 80 was being transported in a car by people who explained that she was being taken to Shambala for safety. However, during the journey, Yasin's troops suddenly approached, planning to inspect their cargo. At that time, the group tried to disguise themselves as scrap collectors, but the troops remained suspicious since they were far from any village. Just as the troops were almost convinced there was nothing wrong, they realized there was a hidden shield that was tricking their vision. One of the Shambala soldiers, Kyra, immediately shot at the troops. Unfortunately, one of the soldiers managed to hit the alarm, putting everyone in danger. Soon after, bounty hunters discovered their location and started chasing them. Kyra fought bravely, but had to sacrifice herself in the battle against Commander Manas' troops. The chase didn't end there, as more soldiers from Kasir, including Bhairava, joined the hunt. Just when things seemed hopeless, Ashwatthama, feeling the need to protect some 80s baby, arrived to help. Ashwatthama's magical powers were far too strong for normal humans. Even though he was shot many times, he didn't get hurt, and the troops chasing some 80 were easily defeated. However, the danger wasn't over. Bhairava, who was also part of the chase, arrived and immediately started fighting Ashwatthama. In the fight between Ashwatthama and Bhairava, the two were evenly matched for a while. However, Bhairava eventually faced his first defeat when Ashwatthama knocked over a giant statue, which collapsed and buried Bhairava. Meanwhile, Bani informed Commander Manas that the one their troops were facing was the god Ashwatthama, who had lived for thousands of years, and that signs of the rebirth of the god Vishnu were becoming more apparent to everyone. At the same time, some 80 arrived at Shambala, but her presence worried the people there because she carried a bounty of 5 million units, which could attract bounty hunters and Kasir's troops to attack their city. Thankfully, Miriam, one of the leaders, calmed everyone down. Soon after, a rainstorm surprised the city, and the people saw it as a blessing that came with some 80 survival. Back at the rubble, Bhairava regained consciousness after being buried. He met with Kasir's troops and explained that he had been fighting someone who wasn't an ordinary human. Bhairava then offered to face Ashwatthama again and capture some 80, as Commander Manas wanted. At first, Manas didn't believe Bhairava could succeed, but after remembering Bhairava's record of never losing, he agreed to let him try. In Shambala, Ashwatthama began sharing his past with Raya. He explained that long ago, he was defeated by Arjuna, who used a powerful bow called Gandiva. However, Ashwatthama was saved by his brother Karna, who wielded a special weapon, the one Ashwatthama now holds. Unfortunately, this weapon only worked when Karna used it, and, for anyone else, it was just a simple stick. Soon after, Bhairava arrived at Shambala, determined to challenge Ashwatthama again and avenge his previous loss. Despite using advanced technology from his car, Bhairava was still no match for Ashwatthama's incredible strength. While the two fought, Commander Manas and Kasir's troops entered Shambala, breaking through the city's protective dome, and a battle between the Kasir and Shambala forces erupted. And Miriam, seeing the chaos, ordered Fan and some 80 to escape. As the preparations for their plane were completed, Miriam destroyed several enemy planes. But then some 80 did not board the plane as planned. This turned out to be a good decision, as Commander Manas shot down the plane that was meant to carry some 80. When some 80 was left unguarded, Commander Manas quickly captured her. Miriam acted fast and attacked Manas to try and save her. Unfortunately, Miriam was defeated, and just as some 80 was about to be taken, Ashwatthama and Bhairava stepped in to rescue her. For some unknown reason, Bhairava decided to help. Even though Ashwatthama wasn't sure if he could trust Bhairava, he still fought him, knocking him away while Bhairava held Ashwatthama's stick. Amid the chaos, Commander Manas took advantage of the situation and trapped Ashwatthama with a special device, taking some 80 to a plane. Luckily, the capture didn't last long. Then, a leaf from a sacred tree fell onto Karna's stick that Bhairava was holding. Suddenly, Bhairava seemed to be filled with Karna's power, and he saved some 80 from the plane. Ashwatthama realized that Bhairava was now the reincarnation of Karna. However, just as Bhairava's car arrived to pick them up, his powers faded, and he returned to his normal self. Ashwatthama noticed this change and tried to stop Bhairava when he attempted to take some 80 back to the complex, but Ashwatthama failed to prevent it. After recalling his past, Ashwatthama realized that Bhairava was the reincarnation of his brother, Karna, who had died during the Kurukshetra War. When Bhairava held the special stick for a while, he would transform into Karna. Ashwatthama felt joy seeing his brother alive again. Back at the complex, Yasin was informed by Bani about Commander Mana's failure and death. Yasin was then given a drop of serum that had been extracted from Divya's fetus. After absorbing the drop, Yasin's body transformed into a young human with superpowers. He then took Arjuna's bow, which Bani had brought to him. There, Yasin told Bani that he would now personally capture some 80 to extract more serum and rebuild his world. The film ends. The moral lesson from this film: always carry a magical stick, cause you never know when it might help you transform into your superpowered reincarnated self. Also, if you're going to be chased by bounty hunters, make sure to have a god on your side.